Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our publishing and coaching services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Roel Krabbendam, author of School. Roel, welcome to the show.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Are you ready to get started?
Absolutely.
All right.
Fire away.
Excellent. Question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
So for me, I depended a lot on structure. I structured my day and my time over a long period of time so that I had something to hang on to. It wasn't rigid. It wasn't rigid like a schedule. It was something a little bit more pliable, like a ritual, but it was something irresistible. I wrote my book from about 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. over about 2 years in a coffee shop in downtown Boston, and then with some weekends in the Boston Public Library, which is a wonderful place to work, and it has a little cafe as well. But I did this. It had to feel good to me. It wasn't that I had to do it. It just had to feel good. Also, I'm a caffeine addict. I didn't do it every day or every weekend, so it was flexible and accommodating. But that ritual, going to the coffee shop and going to the library, just kept me oriented and moving forward. So I would highly recommend something like that, something flexible, but something to hang on to and keep you going.
When you bring up a great point talking about that power of habit with starting your day, going to the coffee shop, having a beverage, and just getting on with it.
Caffeine always helps.
Oh, yeah. I start my day with 2 cappuccinos every morning, so I completely agree with you on that one. So, Roel, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
So I think that there's a lot to know about the logistics that aren't easily found. They're not easily accessed, at least not in a coherent way. I think traditional publishing can be complicated. I think even self-publishing requires a lot of knowledge, or at least some knowledge, that isn't always easily accessed. And I think the biggest issue is that you really don't know what you don't know. And so I just relied a lot on teachers and coaches and podcasts like yours to just give me, bits of information that turned out to be really important. So I would recommend teachers and coaches a lot. It's just not knowing what you don't know. I think that's what it really amounts to.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that you can do is go out there and get a guide. If you're not willing to figure everything out, and it can be quite intimidating because, as I always say, there's nothing difficult about publishing, but there's just so many tedious things. And if you're able to go out there and invest in a guide, have someone help you, I think it's one of the best investments that you can make.
I agree with you. Something as simple as buying your ISBN numbers. Mm-hmm. I self-published a book with Amazon, and my first. They make it easy to just have them give you an ISBN number. But what you don't know is that how that limits you and how easy it is to go buy your own. So simple things like that, just how do you find that stuff out? Someone's got to tell you.
Absolutely. Let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that worked well.
So I'm going to go back to the word structure again. I spend a minimum of, I'd say, 30 minutes to an hour every day just doing absolutely anything I can think of to market my book. It's emails, it's speaking proposals, it's finding conference gigs, it's anything that comes to mind. I'm focusing right now on finding people with related platforms that I can partner with. But the key for me is just being relentless. I don't think that any one strategy is the silver bullet. But just keeping at it every day, just even that small amount of time, half an hour, it just at least gives me the sense that things are going to keep getting better and better. Making that commitment for me has been crucial.
Well, you bring up a great point, is having that persistence. And the last interview I did earlier, we were talking about the power of following up. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I think is missing these days, is when you're reaching out to people and just making sure that you're going through that follow-up process. Because I think that's the biggest thing that can separate a business from being successful and not being successful. And the same thing with the book, is just having that level of persistence and follow up. And with that, you really do have to at times get out of your comfort zone, because not everyone wants to have that level of persistence going where you're constantly following up with people and potential people that you want to work with.
I can't tell you how often I've written 3-4 times to a person before they answer. I'm always a little bit nervous about, being a pain in the ass, but I got to tell you, it beats saying or hearing nothing. Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned in regards to doing speaking proposals. So what exactly did that entail?
So it's not that hard to get a conference gig. Just you need to plan what you're going to say. You need to have to be well organized. I put together speaker sheets, that kind of thing. And I also just talk to a lot of people, and if they have platforms. Here I am doing an interview with you. To be honest, I don't even know how you found me. But even these kinds of engagements, just ultimately, cumulatively, I got to believe they have an effect. And people other than me have far bigger platforms. To be able to share their platforms is, I think, the key to, at least for me, it's the key to finding people, or people finding me, for sure.
Absolutely. And the answer to your question, a little service called LinkedIn. That's how we found you.
Oh, okay. Oh, terrific. There you go. Yet another platform.
Well, let's talk about your favorite book. So what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
This one's easy. Since I don't know when I found this book, probably in my early 20s. There's a book by Peter Matthiessen called "At Play in the Fields of the Lord." I think they actually made a movie out of it at one point. But it's this wonderful adventure in the Amazon where I once lived, and it's evocative and it's exciting. And I love it because it reminds me that life should feel like an adventure, and that it's up to me to make my life adventurous. So, writing my book was an adventure. I've lived in the Amazon, I've crossed the Sahara, I've worked in the Himalayas. These are all pretty life-altering adventures, and life kind of conspires to suck the risk and the excitement out. And this book just reminds me to keep challenging myself and to stay, to keep embracing risk.
And for our final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
So there's an Italian author, his name is Tiziano Scarpa, and he said, getting lost is the only place worth going to. And I think that's just a great motto for a life of adventure.
Well, Roel, I want to thank you for being a guest on this show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
So I have a website for the book. It's www.futureofschools.com. And my email is roel@futureofschools.com.
Well, thank you again for being a guest on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.